The NFL begins in a week and a day. Actually, Thursday is when the Cowboys get underway, along with the Steelers and some others. The Eagles start on Tuesday, the 27th. Jeff Kerr, CBS Sports, 97.3 ESPN.com. He'll be covering the Eagles all season long. And Tuesday, not tomorrow, next Tuesday is when they kick things off. We'll dive into all of that stuff and more. But, Jeff, you wrote over at CBS Sports. I thought this was fun. I don't think there's any other answer other than one to replace Carson Wentz's banner that came down today. There is only one answer. It's the strip sack. That's the only one that can go up there.
That's the one I want. It seems like everybody is in accordance with that, so let's make it happen.
It's the greatest play in the history of the franchise.
It literally is. Like, I always say defensive play because there's always, certain offensive plays you can mention in there. But when I think of the Eagles and great plays in franchise history, I think of three of them. Chuck Bednarik's hit on Frank Gifford, Wilbert Montgomery's touchdown run against the Cowboys in the NFC Championship, and that one. They're the three.
Yeah, I mean, to me, because it ended with the championship, it's the most important play. It's the greatest play in the history of the franchise. If you need to find something to put up there, that's the only thing that can go up there, right? That's it. There's no – what were the – so I can't even now, I didn't read the article yet because I wanted to talk to you and kind of have some good back and forth on it, but did you go with players or plays? Because you gave four.
I went with players, but I made significant plays they did. Now, honestly, if you really wanted to go old school, I should have mentioned this too. Steve Van Buren's touchdown run against the Chicago Cardinals in 1948, which gave the Eagles the championship. But I don't think fans are going to remember that one. So yeah, I went with Brandon Graham, and basically because of one, he's the longest current tenure player with the franchise. Two, the strip sack on Brady. So that was a no-brainer for me. And again, Eagles fans, they love Brandon Graham. They hate Tom Brady. It'd be a great tribute. So, yeah, I went with that one. Jason Kelce, just based on what he's done for them as a center, three-time first-team All-Pro. He might be going to the Hall of Fame if he keeps up his astounding level of play. He should have been an All-Pro last year. And one, he's a franchise icon. I mean, you could put him in the parade suit if you really wanted to. And Nick Foles. Yeah, exactly. So, Nick Foles, I went with just him hoisting that Vince Lombardi trophy. Mike, what was the one thing you and I dreamed of seeing our entire lives?
Right. Obviously, them hoisting the Lombardi trophy.
Exactly. And we always pictured an Eagles player hoisting it. Well, he was the guy. So you put that up there. That's your constant reminder. I know they have the statue, but that'd be really cool. And the other one was Brian Dawkins. And just because of what Brian Dawkins has meant to this city, the blue-collar work ethic, everything he battled, he was Philly through and through. So, if you wanted to put one up there that you could never take down, Brian Dawkins and Brandon Graham and Nick Foles would be the three. Honestly, Jason Kelce would be the
Well, I mean, you could do – all right, so the strip sack's got to be the only answer, right? That's one. If you want to put –
that's the one I would go with.
You could do one with Brandon Graham and Fletcher Cox, maybe hitting each other on the head or something, have them in a picture together, right? That would be one because those two are career Eagles, essentially, right? They're probably not going to play anyplace else. Jason Kelce, as you mentioned, I guess, unless you want to go with some new blood and put Miles Sanders up there or Jalen Hurts, but I don't know that they're ready to make the commitment to Hurts just yet.
I don't think people realize this, but before they put the Wentz banner up there, I think it was 2017 or 2018, they put them up. They had Brian Westbrook up there at that spot for years, and it wasn't obvious it was Brian Westbrook, but it was Brian Westbrook catching the fade. And it was from 2004, and Westbrook hadn't been on the team since 2009, so he was up there for 7-8 years. And I always thought, okay, it's cool to have an old photo of Brian Westbrook up there. Brian Westbrook was an icon for this franchise for a lot of years. But yeah, I agree with you, Mike. If there's one I go with, it's Brandon Graham's strip sack on Brady. It's really the only answer.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, so Thursday, Dallas camp begins. From everything we're hearing, they're going to have a healthy 100% Dak Prescott out there.
Yeah, and that's good news for the Cowboys. I mean, Prescott broke his ankle in October? Yeah, it was October last year. So that's going to be, I got to do the math in my head here, 10 months. So, yeah, he should be ready to go. And honestly, Mike, that's a really good thing for them because they probably will have won that division if Dak Prescott plays the whole year.
Yeah, so that leads us into this next one because obviously he's back, and they're better, right? I mean, they're better across the board, you would think, just getting him back. But defensively, they should be better. Is it, in your mind, a Washington-Dallas division?
Right now it is. Right now it is. I would go with, I've been flip-flopping all year. I think Washington's defense gives them an edge, but their offense has to be top 15. I think Dak Prescott gives Dallas the edge, but we got to see what Dan Quinn does with this defense and, how big of an impact Michael Parsons is going to make. Is Dallas's offensive line, they're obviously aging, but can they recapture that magic they have from 2016 to 2018? And can Ezekiel Elliott recapture that magic? That's what I want to know. There's a lot of question marks with the Cowboys. There are question marks in Washington too, but really their question mark is, can Ryan Fitzpatrick play 16 games? If he can, I think Washington wins this division.
Yeah, I like what you wrote about today too. Derrick Henry, I think he's going to be a guy to keep an eye on, because I was talking about this a little while back. He had 370 plus carries. When does it just boom? When does he have his DeMarco Murray moment?
That's what you have to wonder. And, it's funny, DeMarco Murray had a lot of carries with Dallas, and then he kind of faded with the Eagles, but then he kind of had a resurgence with the Titans when the Eagles traded him there, at least for 1 year. I think Derrick Henry's in the prime of his career. I think he's built to last that many carries. I don't know if he's going to lead the league in rushing again. That's going to be really, really difficult for him. But me personally, I feel Derrick Henry isn't going to slow down this year because they're not going to rely on him as much. They have Julio Jones. They have A.J. Brown. They have Josh Reynolds. Ryan Tannehill can sling the football. We know that. I think Derrick Henry's going to be just that downhill runner they're going to use late in games.
Yeah, I'm interested to see, though, if he still has the same impact and when that all happens. Because now Henry did, DeMarco Murray left Philly and had a pretty solid season in Tennessee, but he had 400 carries that year in Dallas and then just completely fell apart. Now, was that more because he had no tread left on the tires or because they were using him poorly in Chip Kelly's offense?
It might have been a combination of both. Dallas just wore all the tread off his tires on his rookie deal, and then he comes to Chip Kelly's offense, and I think that had a combination too if it just wasn't used right. You remember the game with Pat Shurmur, that Week 17 game against the Giants? They used him great. He ran for 100 yards. I'm like, well, okay, this guy can obviously still play football. He's just getting paid way too much to do it. And he had that good year with Tennessee, and so I don't think he was done. But people are going to say that about Derrick Henry this year. Derrick Henry has 280 carries and runs for 4.5 yards per carry. They're going to think he's declining because he's 27. And no, it's not that. It's just that he had 370 carries and 2,000 yards the year before. And I pointed out in that article that no running back has had over 1,450 yards. But no running back has ever had 1,500 yards in the year following a 2,000 yard season. But Barry Sanders is the only one that's come close to having a really good year. And he was fourth in the league in rushing after he done that.
Yeah.
So.
I'm definitely interested to see that Titans team and how it all comes together. Tannehill has a couple of weapons there. Do they go to the running game? Is it very balanced? I think that is definitely something to keep an eye on as well. Now, over at CBS Sports, you did the all 30 and over defensive team.
Man, it is hot.
But on the offensive side of the ball, Jeff, you take a look at that one there, and it's funny because you got guys like Adrian Peterson on that list, Aaron Rodgers on that list, Julio Jones on that list, who, of course, has a new place to play. Adam Thielen's on that list. This is a pretty, Travis Kelce's on that list. Jason Kelce made the list. Lane Johnson made that list, even though he had a bunch of injuries last year. So that over 30 offensive team still littered with some big-time players.
Yeah, and you know what? You can make a case Brandon Brooks could be on that list if he was like Von Miller to me, honestly, Mike. I just couldn't put Von Miller on the team because he didn't play last year. And I know Jordan DeJaney, I think he did for the offensive team, I think he did the same with Brandon Brooks. He goes, well, we're recounting here. Brandon Brooks is probably the best scorer in football, but he didn't play last year. So, you can make a case for him. But, yeah, you're right. There's a lot of talented over 30-year-olds on the offensive side of the ball. And, really the only weak spot's running back because just running backs don't last.
Right.
Hey, it's 30. Adrian Peterson's a freak.
Yeah, but you wrote about Adrian Peterson, and the guy sounds like he's 25 years old.
Exactly. And Adrian Peterson still wants to play football. I just think he's biding his time. It's like, hey, look, I want to win a Super Bowl. I don't really care if I'm a feature back. If I'm a feature back, great. But I don't think it's going to hurt. Last year, the Lions offensive line, this is where I gave the Lions offensive line a ton of credit last year. Adrian Peterson, I didn't think he was cooked, but I didn't think he was obviously the age of Pearson of old, but he was still able to average like 4.2, 4.3 yards per carry with that offensive line intact. And I'm like, okay, so what's going to happen when DeAndre Swift gets normal carries there?
What do you think of Melvin Ingram going to Pittsburgh?
I like it. I think that's a necessary budget-free replacement. Seeing him in a 3-4 is going to be interesting but Melvin Ingram, I don't even think he had a sack last year. Like, he just had an off year. And I talked to him like in December, and I asked him if it was the injuries, if it was his contract. And he said, you know what, Jeff? He said, honestly, it's just not my year. And I just think that's how he chalked it up as. I think he was a little upset he didn't get the contract extension he wanted for putting up the numbers he did. And, I just think the Chargers are ready to move on, and I think he moved on, and that was the end of it. So I'm happy to see him kind of land on his feet in Pittsburgh. If there's a guy I think that could have a real good bounce back year, it could be him. I think Steelers are getting some really good bang for their buck here.
Yeah, that one's interesting because him and Bosa paired together. We thought that was going to be this great pairing for all those years out there in L.A. or San Diego or whatever you want to call it. And it just never really worked out for him. It'll be interesting to see what Pittsburgh does with him. I think that one is kind of intriguing there as well. So much we're getting ready for with the start of training camp, just less, for Dallas and I guess Pittsburgh. Somebody else this week,
and
right?
Tampa. Yeah, so they are Thursday.
All right, there you go. They are Thursday. We got all that coverage for you coming up here on the Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Let me ask you, too, what could happen to Tampa with the Tom Brady stuff?
This is something that's really interesting. And John Breach, my colleague at CBS, probably knows a lot more about this than I do. But I would say this. You would expect some discipline, right, Mike? Like something. They didn't even list him on the injury report at all. Like the only time they ever did was it was non-injury related. Well, it had to be injury related if it was his knee. And, it looked like this knee thing was bothering him for a while. And I guess because he was practicing, they never did mention it. So maybe it's just he has a high level of pain tolerance. I don't know. But you figure Tampa Bay's going to get fined or something, right?
I definitely think that something's going to happen to them in this situation. I don't think there's any question. I mean, I saw them calling it knee gate the other day. The fact that it's Tom Brady and he's kind of attached kind of makes it another.
Everything's gate with Tom Brady.
Right.
Super Bowl gate.
Exactly. All right, Sports Bash Live, 97.3 ESPN. Jeff Kerr on the NFL. The Eagles, again, of course, on Tuesday of next week, they will be getting ready for the start of training camp. And obviously, we will have the NFC East. We will be taking a look at it from all the different angles here. And I guess before we roll out here, back to the Carson Wentz thing here, I guess they could kind of just leave it blank and let the season play out, right? Doesn't have to have anything up there.
Yeah, they could if they wanted to. I mean, I don't suspect that to happen because it's the Eagles, but they could. I mean, they just leave it there and just say, hey,
right. Well, let the season much like the whole Hurts thing. Let the whole thing play out, evaluate it, and then make the decision like down the road and say, all right, I feel like once you make this decision, you want to make this decision. You don't want to keep putting that thing up and down.
It's a shame they have their issues with Zach Ertz because I feel Zach Ertz would be a perfect person to put up there too, like with Brandon Graham. But Zach Ertz and the Eagles front office basically haven't gone along in a year, so why would they do that?
Ertz there on Tuesday?
I say yes.
Ertz there for the first preseason game?
Now that's a better question. You know what? We'll see. We'll see. I'll go with that. I got to cop out on that one. I hope he's there because I think this team is so much better with him. But by the first preseason game, I mean, you know what? I'll say this. I think he plays at least one preseason game at that.
All right. Well, it's tricky because, we were talking about this earlier with Mosher is, you don't want to get him hurt if you're still trying to trade him when he gets to training camp. So what do? Just have him do
I just suit up. I shouldn't say play. He'll be on the roster. How's that?
Okay, yeah, but I'm just saying, like, he's even talking about, like, doing stuff in training camp. Like, you don't want him getting hurt in like, doing drills or anything. Do you just have him on the side doing stuff? Like, what a weird situation that will be.
How's Nick Sirianni going to handle these 30-year-olds? Darius Slay, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham. So you going to have, like, the injury ruling for these guys? Like, okay, the 30-year-old's not at the practice today. We know what you guys can do.
Well, I'll tell you what. On Tuesday, your first assignment will be, if they get to camp and don't have another corner, I'd like you to ask, hey, does anybody have any thoughts of bringing in like a Drake Kirkpatrick or somebody, you know? I mean, you guys going with this group of corners or what?
Should I be as simple and be like, what are you guys doing with that second cornerback spot anyway?
There you go. Be blunt. Bring it right out to them. All right.
I mean, if I don't see Devonta Smith, that's pretty much what I'm going to do. So there you go, Mike. I'm glad you're making my job for 97.3 ESPN and CBS a lot easier. I'm sure they'll both appreciate it.
Jeff Kerr is brought to you by Clark's Moving and Storage in South Jersey. For your next local or long-distance move, Clark's Moving Storage is your first call. They're dependable and always show up online, clarksmoving.net. All right, Tuesday it all begins. Jeff will be back with more previews of the NFC East. Dallas will be getting underway on Thursday along with Tampa Bay and Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh and Dallas are in the Hall of Fame game, correct?
Correct. Yeah, that's why they're starting early. And Tampa, they're visiting the White House Tuesday. And again, they're starting camp early because they play the kickoff game. So that's the reason they're starting early.
And they're playing Dallas in the kickoff game.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why it's only 3. Like, if anybody wanted to ask why not 4, and
right.
Well, one's playing in the Hall of Fame game and the kickoff game.
Gotcha. All right, Jeff, we will talk to you on Wednesday, man.
All right, sounds great. Thanks for having me on, Mike.
Yeah, as always, Jeff Kerr here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN, little NFL conversation.